Lifebuoys are also positioned at the front and back. Fire extinguishers are located at designated marked locations inside the cabin. Smoking is not permitted on board the boat. Please do not throw any rubbish into the river. Please approach our crew members if you require any assistance. Thank you for cruising with Water B. We wish you a pleasant journey. On your right is Riverside Point, built in the style of the go-downs or warehouses that once lined the river's banks. Now known more for its eateries and a microbrewery, it is built on the site of what was The large building to the right, the Asian Civilizations Museum, showcases the culture and history of the region. The building itself is a piece of history, a fine example of neoclassical Palladian architecture that was completed in 1867 with the use of convict labor. For much of its life, it housed the offices of government departments and was known as Government House. It was renamed Empress Place Building in 1907. On our right is the spot Sir Stamford Raffles first set foot in Singapore, marked by a white statue of the man. Though he's known as the founder of modern Singapore, he spent very little time here, staying only 10 days on his first visit. This white statue is actually a relatively recent copy of the original bronze unveiled in 18... To our right is the seat of Singapore's government, Parliament House, where members of our parliament debate and pass legislation that shapes the country's future. Opened in 1999 to replace the old Parliament House, the building features a prism-shaped top, a modernized version of a dome designed by a former president of Singapore. The old Parliament House building just next door, but not visible from here, now serves as a multidisciplinary art venue known as the Arts House at the Old Parliament. Playing an active role in the local creative scene, it promotes and presents visual and literary arts, film and performing arts. Building you see towards the right, the old Hill Street Police Station was the largest of the police buildings built up during that period. It also had accommodation for policemen and their families, as well as a prison. Yes, if you were a policeman then, your family might live in the same compound as the criminals you put away. Built in 1934, it served as a police station until 1981 and was named a national monument in 1998. Today, it houses several government ministries.
This is the Ministry of Information and the Arts
The bridge we're passing under now was built in 1889 and named after William H. Reed, a political and social activist. The bridge replaced the 1863 merchant bridge, which was too low to allow dongans or traditional riverboats to pass. In years past, it was a popular spot with Teochew laborers who would gather to listen to traditional storytellers. In 1991, the bridge was repaired and converted into the pedestrian bridge you see today. Welcome to Singapore River, and thank you for cruising with Waterproof. Should a life jacket be required, you will find it underneath your seat or at designated marked compartments on the boat. Unbuckle the buckle at the front of the jacket. Stretch one of your arms into the life jacket. Then stretch your other arm into the life jacket and engage the buckle. Adjust the buckle strap for a tight but comfortable fit. There are two exit doors located at the front and the back of the boat. Lifebuoys are also positioned at the front and back. In the event of a fire extinguishers are located at designated marked locations inside the cabin. Smoking is not permitted on board the boat. Please do not throw any rubbish into the river. Please approach our crew members if you require any assistance. Thank you for cruising with Water B. We wish you a pleasant journey.
We're going back. They said only 15 minutes. We're going back. These are all old warehouses pulled down. That's why the building all like that. These are all rolled down.
On your right is Riverside Point, built in the style of the go-downs or warehouses that once lined the river's banks. Now known more for its eateries and a microbrewery, it is built on the site of what was formerly Hong Lim Quay, probably named after Cheung Hong Lim, a 19th century philanthropist who also lent his name to Hong Lim Park. In colonial times, the area was notorious as a gathering spot for secret societies, opium smokers, and prostitutes. Most of the old buildings in the area were torn down and the waterfront go-downs refurbished. As colourful as it was in those days, we think you'd much prefer the present version. Clark Quay on your left is now a thriving entertainment area, bustling with eateries, night spots and entertainment. But it was a very different place from the 1800s until just a few decades ago. Hundreds of bumboats, or lighters, used to be moored here at any one time, disgorging their cargo, the lifeblood of Singapore's trade. The buildings along most of the quay were mostly go-downs, where the cargo would have been stored. The shop houses were 2 to 3 floors high. Typically, the ground floors would have been reserved for the shops and trading offices, with the upper floors serving as part of Singapore from the earliest colonial days. Boat Quay was, for over a century, the backbone of trade. This was where thousands of bumboats delivered their precious cargo, where enterprising traders and businessmen congregated, and where fortunes were made. Just opposite the spot where Sir Sam Bradford, founder of modern Singapore, expanded, this area has remained vital throughout Singapore's history. Most of the businesses were confined to the south bank of the river, with the north bank reserved for government purposes. There is a good reason for that. At its widest point, the south bank swells to resemble the belly of a car, an auspicious feature to the Chinese. With leading banks vying for space and aerial dominance in this financial district, you'll find two of the tallest buildings in Singapore in the vicinity, UOB Plaza 1 and 1 Raffles Place, both 280 meters tall. 1 Raffles Place, originally owned, the forge had been heavily criticized for years. Merchants felt strongly about a possible military target being located so close to their businesses. So, the fort was eventually removed and replaced by the post office in 1874. The merchants with short breathed a sigh of relief. The existing structure, built in 1928, served as the home of various government offices and as the general post office till almost the end of the century. In 1996, refurbishment works were commenced, with the current Fulton Hotel opening in December 2000. In its early years, the building was considered the mile zero of all the roads in Singapore, the point from which all mile markers were measured. It was, in effect, the very center of Singapore. The Anderson Bridge holds the distinction of being Singapore's first steel bridge. As with earlier bridges, the structural steel components were made in Britain and shipped here. During the Japanese occupation of World War II, the severed heads of criminals were displayed on the bridge as a warning to citizens. In 1987, there was a grisly reminder of this violent past. The skeleton of a man was found by a maintenance worker while he was caught between steel girders. The bridge is still open to traffic and once a year serves as part of the route of the Singapore Grand Prix night race. Sometimes forget that the famous statue is one of 7 approved by the Singapore Tourism Board. The second, the Merlion Cup, is a smaller version located just behind it. The fish body symbolizes our history as a fishing village, but where does the lion come from? For that, we have to go back to the 13th century, when the island, known as Temasek or Sea Town, was part of the famous Srivijaya Empire. In 1299, Sang Nila Utama, a prince of the empire, landed on the island on a hunting trip with his men. He spotted a strange animal, a vast, magnificent creature. Curious, he asked his men what it was, and was told it was a lion. Believing it to be a sign of good fortune, he decided to build a new city here, and named it Singapore, which means Lion City. Today, experts doubt that lions were ever found here, and that Sang Nila Utama saw a tiger, or perhaps an Asian golden cat, a medium-sized wildcat. Built in 1933, Clifford Pier became an important point of landing and departure for Singapore. Ships were anchored in harbour and their passengers. The difference is striking. Did you know that we are sailing not on seawater, but on fresh water? We are now in Marina Reservoir, created by damming the mouth of Marina Channel. The reservoir is Singapore's largest, led by the Singapore River Canal. Singapore has long relied on neighbouring Malaysia for fresh water, and the reservoir is 280 meters, the Helix is Singapore's longest pedestrian bridge. It is constructed in the form of a DNA double helix, and, if unraveled, the steel tubing would measure a whopping 2,250 meters. It offers spectacular views of the bay and the city skyline, and has quickly become a favorite spot for evening strolls. At 165 meters tall, the Singapore Flyer was the world's largest observation wheel at the time of its opening in 2008. It offers unparalleled views from its 28 air-conditioned capsules. At the apex of the 30-minute ride, visibility extends to up to 45 kilometers. In clear conditions, you can see parts of Malaysia and Indonesia. The float at Marina Bay, also known as the Marina Bay Floating Platform, is the largest of its kind in the world. Designed as a temporary replacement for the National Stadium, which was being